The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Please say good morning. Welcome back. I consider him a friend. He's a very brave man, and he's a great investigator when it comes into the who is Barack Obama. First of all, Mr. Sellon, good morning. Welcome back to the radio.
Good morning, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, on Friday, and it's really interesting, the Internet is, I think the Internet is such a wonderful gift, and it really is a place where a tremendous amount of investigative work has done on the life of who is Barack Obama. But there is a website called the Birther Report, and I think you're familiar with the Birther Report, are you not?
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Well, the Birther Report, and, God bless them, has been like denouncing the radio show because I would not have a certain fellow on, which I thought was bizarre because I go out of my way to get everybody on, good, bad, or indifferent. And I don't know who plants that, but it doesn't matter. But this fellow, his last name is Gallups, and his first name is Carl. And I was getting emails even from people in our audience. Why was I, quote, afraid to have this guy on? Which is ridiculous. You know, why would I have no fear, especially when it comes to who is Barack Obama. So to begin with, why do you think that whole thing began?
Well, I thought it was rather odd myself, Peter, because of all the radio personalities, you have spoken out the most about this, and so I thought it was strange that they said that. I think perhaps it's because I've been on your show and I've asked questions about this investigation, the cold case posse investigation, and the participation of Carl Gallups, and so I think that may have generated it, but I don't know. But it was very strange that they condemned you, of all people.
Well, and like I said, I always say when things like this happen, so what? But so too, when I was starting to get text messages from, really literally across the country, and one of them said that I was a coward. And I don't know if these people generated this or it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And I thought, well, God, I mean, let's get this guy on the radio show. And so on Friday, we had Carl Gallups on, who, by the way, says he is a pastor, and I take him at his word, and that he has a radio show, and I take him at his word. And so he said that he professed to speak for Mike Zullo, and Zullo was the chief investigator for Joe Arpaio in the cold case files. I got to tell you something, and I know you listened to it, Colonel, but I heard nothing. For 45 minutes, I heard nothing. And, boy, I just got barraged, and you can imagine the anti-birther people, the Obamas telling the truth people from all around the world and all around the country. Apparently, they either podcasted it or listened to it streaming, but that was blood in the water, man. I was like, I don't know, I mean, all these descriptive narratives about the radio show, myself, and Gallups. And frankly, and we have Mr. Gallup scheduled again for tomorrow, but it was really weak. I mean, it was less than weak. It was just smoke and mirrors and nothing was said. Do you agree?
I agree, but first let me say, I think you're doing a great service to the country and displaying a huge amount of courage. But I listened to the program, and Carl Gallups didn't say anything new. What he did say is something is well known, that is already well known, is that there are two lines of investigation. The first line comes out of the birth certificate, the original birth certificate investigation, which a large amount of the information that they looked at was already provided by people out there who have been investigating us, many of whom you've had on your program. And they had two press conferences a couple years ago. Nothing came out of it in terms of indictments, arrests, or prosecutions. And then it continued, and it was ready to be dropped last fall when allegedly a whistleblower came around and started giving them information about that it might have been produced on government facilities, on government computers, and that John Brennan, the CIA director, may have been supervising this. Now, the second line of investigation, which Carl Gallup's touched on, really has little or nothing to do with birtherism. I believe it came out of the information that they got from the whistleblower, and it deals more in terms of penetration of the sheriff's office in Maricopa County in Arizona, and that there are 6 or more crimes involved, and this is why they call it a criminal investigation, and it has to do with, as I understand it, the Department of Justice, at least one other federal agency, and it may be connected back to the White House. So, again, this has little or nothing to do with birtherism, but it is a potential crime, and they're investigating it. Now, whether this rises to the level of the IRS scandal or the Benghazi scandal, I think we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I am going to come back to this because others have said, and you have said better than anyone, that neither the IRS scandal nor Benghazi have made much of a dent in Obama. So the universe-shattering promises that are being made out of Arizona, I don't know what to do.
Well, I think it's a matter of perception. I think when you're involved in a particular investigation, you may see it as more dramatic than it really is. As I said earlier,
I agree.
We haven't seen anything significant come out of IRS or Benghazi, and these, in my mind, are very, very significant events and should really lead to an impeachment vote. So I think it's what they perceive. And let me add one other thing, which I find really, really strange about this whole thing, is that the cold case posse, Mike Zullo, always calls this a law enforcement investigation. Now, first of all, he's not a law enforcement officer. He has no police powers. And secondly, he's saying that he can't tell the public about this because it is a law enforcement investigation. Nevertheless, he's telling everything to a pastor in Florida who has a radio program. I don't get that.
I had the same. I don't know if this guy's going to turn into Jim Garrison or not, but Gallup's continued to say to us, and again, he's invited back tomorrow, but I needed to put this fire out before it goes any further about what happened on Friday. But if he is locked into this investigation, then why are you telling a pastor with a radio show who claims he knows everything, but he can't tell me anything, but he wanted to come on the radio show?
Well, I don't, it sounds like a, promotion to me.
Exactly.
I don't get this at all. If this is a genuine law enforcement investigation, why is he telling this civilian all this information and refusing to reveal it to the public? That part I don't understand at all.
And it wasn't like I was, but it was kind of, in some ways, and this is a little inside baseball, it was like this really weird challenge from. I even saved the emails, and most of them are those emails that they're in a double blind. They don't have any name connected to them. Although we've made friends with people who are just amazing at finding out who people really are when they send us emails. But that I was kind of floored by it because I've gone on my way for 6.5 years to find everybody we can and bring them on the radio show to try and piece together who is Barack Obama. And all of a sudden, I was a bad guy because I wouldn't have this guy on. And I spoke with somebody else that's inside baseball that and I think the world of you, and these people I think the world of as well, who think that this was ginned up by these guys to get publicity. And that's not impossible either. But we had Carl Gallup's on the radio show simply because of a lot of blind email challenges. And I thought, God, why would I be afraid to have somebody on a radio show who wants to say that he speaks with you're laughing and I'm laughing, but that he speaks with Mike Zullo, and that he knows the truth. And I said, okay, let's go. And as you pointed out, he said nothing except for 2 things. Those 2 things that you point out, you've known for months, and I've kind of roughly figured out. Let's go over them again. There's 2 lines of investigation: an extension of the original birth certificate investigation, which is, I believe, the forgery. And one of the things that Gallup said in his early ink is that he could name that person. And who do you believe? I mean, I like I said, this kid I call Jimmy down the hall, but you believe that someone supervised this investigation or supervised this counterfeiting. Is that fair?
Yes, I think so. And the information I got, which the Gallups didn't reveal, was that it's connected back to the federal government, perhaps through John Brennan. Now, I think CIA Director John Brennan is a bad guy, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's involved in this. It has been alleged that his company broke into the passport files at the State Department and altered the records of Barack Obama. So it would be consistent that he would be involved in forgery, the birth certificate forgery, supervising it, and having people either within the government or people outside the government helping him do that.
And it's been long rumored and believed to be documented that Brennan is a Muslim. Do you believe that?
Again, that wouldn't surprise me either. He was station chief in
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. He was allegedly, very close to the people there, the Saudis, and it wouldn't surprise me at all.
He converted, yeah.
People sometimes unexpectedly do unexpected things, and it would also be consistent with his relationship with Barack Obama, because Obama is at least a sympathizer.
Do you believe, and if you just joined us, this is Lawrence Sellin, retired colonel. I think he's tremendous. He's one of the really powerful investigators in the life of Barack Obama. We had that bizarre go up with Gallups on Friday. Do you believe that Arpaio and Zullo know the exact person or persons who created the birth certificate?
They may. I can only say they may know. I think if the information they got from this alleged whistleblower points back to the federal government and the use of government facilities and computers, then they may know. Or they just may know who is generally involved. But again, they've been very cryptic. Arpaio actually has said nothing. And you can see the difference between, Arpaio has his own spokesperson. And,
absolutely, yeah.
Yet separately, we have this cold case posse investigation when we have this, de facto spokesperson in Florida, a pastor with a radio program.
I agree.
If as I said, Mike Zullo is not a law enforcement officer. He can't do anything. It's going to have to be passed along to Arpaio if there's going to be any indictments, arrests, or prosecutions, and they would have to convince the district attorney in any case. So I think, they're deliberately keeping these two things separate, Arpaio's office and the cold case posse office.
This notion, again, that we have been promised now for a year and a half, this universe-shattering information. Again, this is the boy who cried wolf, and this is what I said to Gallup. I said, this is the boy who cried wolf. I mean, there's a real wolf, but you can't keep saying the wolf's here. You can't keep saying the wolf's here, because pretty soon the townspeople won't come out to see if there's a wolf.
Well, yeah, I think they're destroying their own credibility by just continuing to do this. And another interesting point that came out of the same article where you were attacked was that Mike Zullo said that he didn't want to reveal this information and have other investigators working on this because it doesn't work. Well, interestingly enough, everything that Mike Zullo has uncovered around the birth certificate has been from other people.
I agree.
And people you've had on your program.
Oh, indeed.
So to claim that that somehow now that he's doing it, these other people don't have credibility is to me a bit astounding.
No, I agree. I mean, the whole thing, like I say, I know that through other friends of ours, I know that Zullo goes to Washington, D.C., and says some pretty powerful things, and he says them to the press corps, and we have friends who covered that, and took the air out of the room, and then nothing. You can't keep.
Well, yes. Yes, exactly. I mean, the whole Zulo Gallups thing is based on promises.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the people you've had on your program, I could go down the list, Susan Daniels, Don Fredericks, Joel Gilbert, they have all done something
Jerry
first
Corsi,
and then talked. They've done something first and then talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
The whole investigation that is being carried out by the cold case posse is based on promises.
Mm-hmm.
They took the information that other people provided them. They had 2 press conferences. Again, it was all based on what other people have done. They confirmed what has already been known. They've been doing this for 3 years and have produced nothing new.
I went back in time yesterday afternoon because this really raised my shoulders about what happened on Friday, what happened on the internet. But I go back, the first promises were made in 2011.
Yes.
The sheriff's office, 2011. And then they came up and said they weren't going to do anything until after the 2012 elections. Well, then nothing again. And to me, it's like, okay, I've reviewed the reports. I've looked at a lot of this stuff. I've spent a lot of hours listening to people like you and reading others. And you can't keep doing that. That's why I came up with The Boy Who Cried Wolf, because the first time I can find these guys is back in 2011. Well, I'm sorry. That's almost been now. That's over 3 years.
Well, you're absolutely right, Peter. I feel the same way. I donated money to the cold case posse.
I did too.
And it's been 3 years, and what have they come up with? Really nothing that we haven't already known.
Yeah, and guys like yourself, and there's a list of people. Don's a classic. Don Fredericks. We get down a list of these people. Jerry Corsi, Jack Cashill. These guys have really moved the ball, as they say in football, moved the sticks. I don't know what to do. I want them to be right, and you don't need. But when like I said, when it was become that somehow I was afraid to have some guy that I didn't even know on a radio show, and we had him on the radio show, and then, as you pointed out, and I loved you for the email, and I really appreciate it. They said nothing.
No, he didn't, and I think it may be, as you suggested earlier, that this was planted, that, you had me on the program, I raised some questions about what they're doing, and, they wanted to respond to it, and I would say, and you did the right thing, you invited them on, but unfortunately, they said nothing.
And by the way, I got to tell you, Colonel, I invited them back, and as a matter of fact, what I'd like to do, if you agree, you want to co-host with me tomorrow when he comes back on?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Peter.
See, that's the guy I love. These are the guys I love. It's like, you're damn right I will. And I've gotten, when we speak privately, I'll tell you, I've gotten so many great texts and off-air phone calls from the people that I think the world of, who said they listened to it and they said, hey, and you're the man, and you can co-host with me tomorrow. Have you ever spoken with Gallups yourself?
Never.
Well,
never met him, never spoken to him, never talked to on the phone or email.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
And I leave you with this, and I tell everybody this, to sign up for Obamacare. You and I have to provide the government with more personal information than Barack Obama had to provide to become the President of the United States.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.